And for more insights on the markets, we're joined by Peter Andersen, Chief Investment Officer at Andersen Capital Management. Peter, thanks for your time today. And I know you think the Fed will not cut rates this year, but what happens to the markets, to stocks in particular, if we do see higher for longer interest rates?
Well, we've lived through that for the past 2 years, higher for longer. And although the market did take quite a dive the first year of that, we did recover sharply afterwards. So I think there is almost too much emphasis placed on the Fed and the actions they're going to take and whether or not they're going to raise rates, keep them the same, or lower them. I also have to remind your viewers that the current environment of the Fed's rates, when you look over a very long period of time, and I mean longer than 20 years, these rates are well within what we would normally call average rates. So I think our memory has gotten so short-term focused. That's the reason why we think we are in a higher or high rate environment. We are certainly in a higher rate environment than the past 20 years, but in terms of the overall history, I would say we're just at an average rate now. So we have to keep that in perspective.
And keeping that in mind, Peter, what then is a bigger or biggest threat, you think, to the markets at this point?
I do not think it's the Fed and interest rates. I think it's other situations. For instance, I think the specter of hacking and cyber crimes is only going to grow in time. You know, we've talked a lot about the benefits of artificial intelligence, but now we also have to be very mindful that artificial intelligence in the wrong hands can be quite a potent weapon. And I would not at all be surprised this year if some companies are subjected to a major hacking, a cybersecurity crime that will really put that in perspective and dwarf the concern about what kind of activity the Fed is taking.
Yeah, technology can definitely be used for good and evil, Peter, but we heard that earlier. Chip makers, TSMC, Samsung, they are beefing up capacity in light of the AI boom. We saw the stock market gains for the likes of NVIDIA and Micron. How important is computing power in unlocking the potential of AI and artificial intelligence?
Given today's expectations, it is the singularly most important factor for most people when they think about artificial intelligence and the progress that has to be made in order for us to simulate maybe even human thought, although I personally think that is a long way off. Instead, I like to think of the current goals of artificial intelligence simply being higher and faster speed computing. If you keep it within that frame of expectations, you don't start to worry that artificial intelligence will spill over to a human type threat where some people are basically thinking of science fiction novels that computers will be so smart that they will take over the world, etc. And we are so impossibly far away from that right now. So let's just think of the roles of semiconductors being main role being compute power, faster compute power, and more efficient computing power.
Yeah, you mentioned about where we are now with artificial intelligence. We just heard from Elon Musk predicting that AI will overtake human intelligence next year. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Well, I'm laughing because I do think it is so profoundly absurd. You know, in order for artificial intelligence to even rival the human brain. And what Mr. Musk should probably think about is the human brain has evolved over time within a human body. So to expect that the brain can be developed without the functions of the human body is frankly absurd. Think about that. We do not separate our mind from our body. And some researchers are saying the body has almost an important factor and helping the mind process as the mind itself. So unless Mr. Musk has in mind a supercomputer that will also be connected to some type of artificial life form, I think that we are far away and people should not at all spend any time thinking about that as a threat.
Well, Peter, a lot to learn and discover about this new and emerging industry and technology. Thanks so much for your insights today. Peter Andersen there, Chief Investment Officer at Andersen Capital Management.